Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. When it comes to scriptures, say Bhagavad Gita or any other textbook, it is very important to understand whether the verse speaks from the relative level or the absolute level. There are two levels. One is the relative level, means a common person's viewpoint, a common person's understanding. And the second is the absolute level, means from the level of the Supreme Self, from the level of the reality. If you do not understand this, it may lead to confusion. Like in the second chapter itself, if you remember, the 11th verse, Krishna says, everyone in this world will die. There are two types of human beings. One is Gatasu and another is Agatasu. Means one set of people who are already dead and another set of people who are about to die. So every person in this world will die. And immediately in the next verse, in the 12th verse, he says, Natve vaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha nacheva na bhavishyamaha sarvam vayamate param. Yes, none of us will die, Arjuna. Neither you will die or I will die. Or all these people, janadipa, means these lakhs of people, warriors, no one is going to die. What will die in this battlefield is only the physical body. So he immediately changes his stance. Verse 11, he speaks from the layperson point of view. Verse 12, he takes up the absolute stance. So if you don't understand it, what Krishna is telling, it's a contradiction from 11th verse to the 12th verse. So there are two truths, as I said, the reality. Truths are two types. So even it is said that scriptures has got two tongues. Two tongues means two truths. For example, the sun rises every day and the sun sets every evening. This is a truth. This is the truth. For us who is at the standpoint of earth, yes, this is truth. Because the sun rises every day and the sun sets every evening. The whole astrology is based on the sunrise and the sunset. They even give the time of sunrise and sunset. So is it true that the sun has rise and set? Yes, it is true. But where? From the standpoint of earth. But from the standpoint of the sun, does the sun has rise and set? No. The sun has no rise and set. It always illumines. Na udeti, na astam eti. It has no rise and set. So both are truths. From the standpoint of sun, it has no rise and set. But from the standpoint of earth, yes, the sun has got rise and set. The absolute and relative reality also we have to understand like this. There are two truths. From the standpoint of the Supreme Self, yes, there is no birth and death. The birth and death is only to the physical body. You are not the physical body. You are that Supreme Self, which is beyond the birth and death. This is the truth from the absolute level. At the relative level, no, we don't know we can't understand what is this. What a lay person understands is a person born at one time, lives for some time, and again one day he will die. This is a lay person's understanding. Till now, Krishna spoke from absolute reality, means from the stance of Supreme Self, where he was again and again brainwashing Arjuna that Arjuna, you have no birth and death, you are that Supreme Reality. Since Arjuna cannot understand what Krishna is saying, from this verse, he drops his level to relative reality. 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30th, all these 5 verses, Krishna speaks the concept of birth and death from a relative angle. See, relative level is that which I can see, which my mind can register, my mind and intellect can understand the relative reality. See, in the previous verse I said, Atman is achintyaha. Your buddhi cannot understand the Atman. This is from absolute stance. I can't believe it. When something my buddhi cannot understand, how can I believe it? So relative level is what I see, I hear, I understand. That is the truth for me. Absolute level, neither I can see, nor I can feel, nor I can think about it. How can I believe the absolute reality? To believe absolute reality, you need to have an immense shraddha and devotion towards the Guru and the scriptures. One who understands from life, means when life experiences teach us, then we will slowly lift ourselves from relative level to the absolute level. A person from absolute level understands both the relative level and the absolute level. But a person at relative level understands only the relative level. He cannot conceive the absolute level. So Arjuna is at relative level, Krishna is at absolute level, who understands both the levels. Now 26 verse, Krishna speaks from a relative point of view, from a lay person's point of view. Verse 26. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam sochitum arhasi. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam sochitum arhasi. So here Krishna is speaking from the relative level, from Arjuna's point of view. Direct perception alone determines the lay person's vision of birth, death, and life. He perceives the world a series of births and deaths. A person born at one time stays for some time, and one day he will die. And because of mentally attached to that particular individual, one experiences grief at their death. Arjuna also suffers such a predicament here. He finds emotionally dependent on those people, on Bhishma, Drona, Krupacharya, Dusasana, Duryodhana, all his uncles, his brothers, cousin brothers, his sons. He finds himself emotionally attached to them. And the thought of parting from them is producing immense grief in Arjuna now. Why he has grief? What will happen to me? Once these people will die, what will happen to me? How can I survive without these people? This is his attachment towards his own people. So here Krishna is saying, okay Arjuna, whatever you are saying, Atha chainam nitya jatam, nityam va manyase mritam. Okay Arjuna, your understanding is people born and people die. Okay, let us, okay, I will understand. Okay, you are right. People born and people die. Even then, why to grieve? Where is the question to grieve? Even though they born, okay, they born at one time, they die at another time. But where is the question to grieve? Do you think everyone will live on this earth? Birth and death are inevitable factors of life. That which is created at one time has to perish at another time. So everyone is living on this planet. The earth is not even enough. The 5 elements, the earth, the fire, the water, earth, the space, is not enough. They are not sufficient. You say everyone is like, existing on this planet forever. Krishna will be also, will be next to us. He will be teaching directly Bhagavad Gita to you. I don't need here. So he says this is inevitable factor of life. Do you want everyone should be living forever? A story from Ramayana. It is said that Dasharatha lived for 60,000 years. He lived for 60,000 years because Lord Brahma forgot to write his death time. He forgot. So it is said that by chance Lord Brahma forgets to write your death day, you got to choose your death time. You have that facility to choose your death time. And this is how Dasharatha was living for 60,000 years. And the official wives of Dasharatha, we know only 3, but it is said that he married 1,300 wives. And when Rama born, Dasharatha holds Rama in his hands and sees the tejas of Rama, the radiance in Rama's face. And he says, when this boy will leave me, I would like to die. Immediately Saraswati, goddess Saraswati says, Tadastu. That's how when Rama is left to Aranya forest, Dasharatha will die. So as long as Dasharatha has no attachments, he lived nicely. And when he got attachment towards his son, his own attachment has killed Dasharatha. So in this verse, Krishna says, Arjuna, even though people born and die, these are inevitable factors of life. There is no point of sitting and crying like this. The old people has to vacate for the new to occupy. So the old people, everyone should leave the place. They cannot, Shakespeare quotation, all the world is a stage and the men and women are merely players. They got their exits and entrances. When my English teacher taught me this quotation, she did not tell me why Shakespeare has used first exits and then entrances. He may use entrances and exits. Everyone has got their entrance and exit. No, he didn't use that. He said everyone has got their exit and entrance. Slightly, subtly, he is indicating the theory of reincarnation, that you are leaving the world only to come back again. That's why everyone has got their exit and entrances. So there is no need to grieve, Arjuna. And Krishna addresses Arjuna as Mahabaho, a mighty armed, to remind Arjuna of his strength and valor. It gives a psychological prop to Arjuna at his depressed state of mind. So in this verse he says, okay, whatever you think is right, people born and people die. Even then, Arjuna, there is no point to grieve. Next verse, 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyerthe natvam sochitum arhasi. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Jatasya means birth, born. Here dhruvam means certain. One who is born, certainly he will die at another time. And dhruvam janma mritasya cha, and one who is dead, certainly he will come again. Certainly, indeed, he will come again. Tasmada apariharyarthe. Apariharyarthe means this is inevitable. Birth and death is inevitable. One who is born, certainly he will die at another time. One who is dead, certainly he will come at another time. This is apariharyarthe. These are inevitable factors. Natvam sochitum arhasi. Why are you grieving for that? So, birth is the beginning point, and the death is the ending point. In between that line, we say that is life. Our life is nothing but experiences after experience. So in Sanskrit, life is defined as Anubhavadhara. Anubhavadhara means stream of experiences. The quality of our experience determines the quality of our life. If my experiences are adventurous, I say my life is adventurous. If my experiences are boring, I say life is boring. If my experiences are joyful, blissful, I say life is very happy. And if my experiences are miserable, I say no, life is very, very miserable. So my life depends on my experiences. And I would like to explain you to make our experiences better. Now you may get a question, how can we make our experiences better? When you make your experiences perfect, life becomes perfect. And how can you make your experiences perfect? An experience consists of two factors, subject and the object. The subject is you, the object is the world. When the subject you contacts the world, you say that is an experience. So simply sitting in the home, you cannot say that you had experienced something. Even to have a meal in the restaurant outside, you will get up. The subject gets up, go to the objective world, contacts the restaurant, and then his experience for having a meal in the restaurant is completed. So an experience consists of two factors, the subject and the object. So to make the experiences perfect, both the subject and the object, both should be perfected. Okay, this is mathematics. To make the life perfect, experiences have to be perfect. And to make the experience perfect, both the subject and the object has to be perfected. The objective world is taken care by the scientists. If you analyze the world 60 years back, we do not have a mobile phone. For one trunk call, we need to wait for a week. Hardly any cars. I remember in my childhood only one or two ambassador and Premier Padmini here and there. So now we have press button facilities. Means the objective world is improved. The only attempt of scientists is to make the world a perfect place for you and me enjoy, for you and me for a comfortable living. But my question to you is, in spite of all the scientific advancement, in spite of the press button comforts, is the subject individual happy? No. The more science is growing, individual is becoming more miserable. The reason because in the experience consists of two factors. One is the subject and the object. The attention is only to improve the objective world. There is no attempt to improve the subject, and the subject was not attended to a point of fault. So objective world is improving, subject is here. So there cannot be any success, peace and prosperity because the balance is not there, it's imbalance. When the subject also lifts himself to the level of objective world, then there can be success, peace, and prosperity. Now the world is like that. We have the king bed, AC, but the subject is not getting sleep. We have the 5-star restaurants. We got, wherever you go, food. But the subject individual has no hunger. So, with the wealth, with the objective world, only can help you to some extent. To enjoy the world, the subject has to be improved. And what improves the subject? There is no other subject than the scriptures. Nothing but the scriptural knowledge. So what Bhagavad Gita does is only elevate, as the subject slowly, gradually grows into the higher dimensions of knowledge. From where he is to slowly, this knowledge helps him to go to the higher dimensions of understanding. So why I am telling all this? Because to make your experiences perfect, both the subject and the object has to be attended. Only attending the object will not help you. So subject also has to be developed. Once the subject is developed, experiences become perfect. When experiences become perfect, life becomes dynamic. So between the death and the birth line, what is there here? Krishna is saying the life. And birth and death are inevitable factors of life. Anything which is born has to die. And anything which is dead will born again. Okay, the person who is dead, he may not be in front of you, but one day he will come back. One day he will definitely come back to the earth. See, this physical body has got 5 metamorphical changes of birth, growth, disease, decay, and death. These changes are inevitable. So, these 5 changes are the precision of life. You need to stand in the balcony of your Supreme Self and enjoy the precision of infancy, boyhood, adolescence, middle age, old age, and death. This is our life's precision. That's why Shankaracharya in Bhaja Govindam says, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam, iha samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare pahyamurare. Again birth, again death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Jathare means wombs. How many wombs we had changed by this time, we have no idea. And let me tell you, any change in life is painful. Any change in life is painful. So how many births we had, how many wombs we had changed, we have no idea. Iha samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare pahyamurare. You're thinking that the world is full of joys. No, it's smitten with sorrow. In another verse he says, Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvad jivitam atishaya chapalam. Nalini dala means lotus leaf. On the lotus leaf, that water drop is ati taralam, means very, very unstable. It is not stable. When this water drop will go back to the river, we have no idea. Similarly, our lives on this earth are ati taralam, very not stable at all. He says there, okay, suppose say you live for 100 years. Suppose say, nowadays no one will live for 100 years, but suppose, say you lived for 100 years. How many days you had slept? Maybe 30, 35 years, say 40 years I had slept. In that 60 years, the first 20 years, I can't decide anything for myself. Someone else decides for me. I don't have any charge on my life. Someone takes the charge of my life. And towards the end, the last 10 years also, I don't have any charge on my life. Someone else decides my life. And in between that 30 years of life, we had got hundreds of problems, the worry, the anxiety, the stress, the strife, the struggle. Oh, so many things only for that 30 years. People plan for years and years. It's like a rat race. You know, the rat has got a quality of stealing and hiding, and immediately it forgets where it hid it, it forgets. Similarly, the human being, he cannot conceive, such a short life. And my plannings are for, generations. And I had given you the count for 100 years. It could be 60, it could be 30, it could be 50. That's why the verse Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Shankaracharya repeats after every verse. This is called Mukutam in Sanskrit. Mukutam means the most important verse, the main verse. What does that mean? Oh Bhaja Govindam, worship Lord, worship Lord, worship Lord. Oh Mudha, oh fool. These worldly pursuits will not take you anywhere, are not going to help you. Even though you do good karma, you come back. You do bad karma, you will come back. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So in this verse he is saying that is the precision of life. You come, you go, you come, you go, you come, you go. And that's why Vedanta explains that the world itself merely an expression of birth, maintenance and death. When morning dies, noon born. When noon dies, evening born. When evening dies, night born. In and through, the day is maintained. When infancy dies, the boyhood born. When the boyhood dies, the manhood born. When the manhood dies, the old age born. In and through, the individual you is maintained. When the summer dies, the monsoon born. When monsoon dies, the winter born. In and through, the season is maintained. So the world itself is an expression of birth, maintenance and destruction. This creation, maintenance and destruction is personified by the three gods Trinity: Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Our rishis has created these three gods to explain the humanity that the world is nothing but creation, maintenance and destruction. So no God is there even in the sky. No Shiva or Vishnu or Brahma, no one has seen. But they had created these gods to explain the ignorant, the lay person, that the world runs with creation, maintenance and destruction. G-O-D, God. G stands for generator, Brahma. O stands for organizer, Vishnu. D stands for destroyer, Maheshwara. When we say Om, before every class I chant Om. Om is the name of the God. If the Supreme Self has got a name, the name is Om. It's not Om, there are three letters, A-U-M. When you chant Om, see, oh, it comes, from underneath your navel, the sound starts. Oh, and you stretch it. That is maintenance. Om, you close. That is destruction. So AUM represents the creation, maintenance and destruction. This Om is given, means Om is the name of God. The name is given because of His work. What is the work of God? Creation, maintenance and destruction. So here Krishna says, expecting death not to come to your dear ones is an unreasonable expectation. My dear one should not die. It's an unreasonable expectations. When you born, there were many relations. Afterwards, those relations disappeared. New relations have born. So in life, relations are nothing but additions and subtractions. So here Krishna says, Arjuna, there is no point to grieve. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Person who dies, he will definitely come back. See, how do you look at? If you give me a stick, I had broken the stick. Now there are two. How do you look at it? You had destroyed the stick, or you had created the new one. So at the time, any one of your dear ones will die. There are two ways of looking at it. Oh my God, this person is no more with me. He disappeared. He died. Or he will definitely come back. His vasanas were over, he died. He will definitely come back. May not be in front of me, but he will definitely come back. So how do you look at it? It entirely based on your vivekam, on your intellect. Next verse. 28th. Avyaktadhini bhutani व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना. In this verse, Krishna is saying, life is nothing, Arjuna, but a game of manifest and unmanifest. Like hide and seek, like how the children play like and hide and seek. They manifest and they go back to unmanifestation. So he says, Avyaktadini bhutani. Avyakta means unmanifest. Vyakta means manifest. Krishna says here, oh Arjuna, all these people who are manifested now, at one time they were unmanifested. Now they were manifesting. Avyaktadini bhutani. Before they were unmanifested. Vyakta madhyani bharata. Now, madhyani means now, they manifested. Avyakta nidhananyeva. After some time, again they will go back to unmanifestation. We all go to unmanifestation. Where is the question to go? Tatra ka paridevana. Why are you grieving for that? Because the life is nothing but a game of manifestation and unmanifestation. In the vast ocean, the waves arise out of their unmanifested state. They manifest for some time and again they go back to unmanifestation. The pot is there potentially in the clay. The pot is there. When the pot maker made the pot, it is manifested. When you break the pot, again it will go back to unmanifestation. Similarly, he says, you and me were there in the Prakriti. Potentially we were there in the Prakriti, unmanifested. Now we got manifested. After some time, we again go to unmanifestation. Arjuna, why are you grieving for that? Yeah, very simply he's saying, see, the common view in Vizag is, we have hills around. During the summer, the hill becomes a brown color. It becomes barren. And once the monsoon starts, the green mantle, the whole hill range is filled with the green mantle. And again in summer, it's again dark and barren. So even this is also manifested, the vegetation is also manifestation and unmanifestation. This is a play. He says, why are you grieving for that? You and me were there unmanifested. Now we manifested. After some times we will be unmanifested again. Every night, are we not going through the state of unmanifestation? Now we are manifested. Night when you sleep, you drop this physical body, you drop the mind, intellect, everything. You go into unmanifestation. Again in the morning, you manifest again. You come back to manifestation. Whole day is manifestation. And again, night you go back to unmanifestation. Similarly, when you drop this physical body, till you come again, you are in unmanifested state. When you get the suitable body, the suitable conducive environment, again you manifest in a different name and form, in a different place, which is conducive for your desires to exhaust. So this is all about manifestation and unmanifestation. Why are you grieving for that? Every day you are going through unmanifestation, and again you born. In the morning you born, that is manifestation. Similarly, when you drop this physical body, you go through unmanifestation. Again you come back, that is manifestation. Matthew Arnold. Sukanya, do you have that life is in arrows? Matthew Arnold, she has. See the quotation. He says, life is an arrow. Life is an arrow shot from darkness, means from the unmanifestation to manifestation, flutters in the light for a while and vanishes back into darkness. This is written by Matthew Arnold, an American philosopher. See, they also has got this knowledge of Atma Jnana. Life is an arrow shot from darkness, flutters in the light for a while and vanishes back into darkness. Here also Krishna is telling Arjuna, this is all life about, Arjuna. This life is just the game of manifestation and unmanifestation. Hence, Arjuna, there is no need for you and me to get confused and confounded with the situations around. This life is just a game. You can remove it, Sukanya. This life is just a game. Play it fearlessly. Play it to the best of your capacity. But you play. Okay? But you play. Don't run away from the challenges, because now Arjuna is running away from the challenges. So you should play the game without any fear, because this is just a game of manifestation and unmanifestation. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.